This is the Seahawkers podcast, episode 303. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Brandon, it's happening! It's happening! The season is coming. It's week one. By this time next week, the Seahawks will be 1-0.
We will have an outcome of a football game and hopefully several football games across the league come next Monday. I am so fired up not having a preseason to kind of give us structure going into the regular season. It has just made this offseason feel so much longer.
It really has, and just more silly too. All the random stories that you hear. I mean, Alton Robinson's basically Reggie White, so that's cool. But yeah, this offseason has gone for so long. This year's dragged on forever. We're all over this freaking year. This is how the universe can make it up to me, is by letting us kick everybody else's ass to win another championship in 2020. That's how the universe can make this year up to me.
Yes, and the fact that it's the Falcons, that has to make it feel all that much better for you, and even for me, because as I'm thinking back to my feelings about the Falcons, and I think a lot of Seahawks fans feel this way. I haven't said his name yet.
No. There's a team you talked about.
The Falcons as a whole, it gets the who treatment now. It's not just Matt Ryan.
I don't even know this organization. Is this a new team? Did they bring him up from the XFL or something?
It's the Atlanta Julio Joneses.
The whole team gets the who treatment now. That's how much I disdain Atlanta.
Perfect. Yeah, the who's for short.
Oh, okay.
For Julio.
Who?
So we are going to talk about the Julios in this episode, but, we have some 53-man roster cuts. We finally know now what this 53-man roster is going to be, and there are some areas where we've been talking about it all offseason where we're excited about particular aspects to it, and then there's other aspects where it really shows you how dire it is in some of these positions when you look at the final 53 and you go, oh, that's what we ended up with going into week one at that. I was expecting more.
Yeah, we all were expecting more. Although I would say, based on the people that they had in camp, the guys through the mock games and all that, I'm not surprised by who is on the 53-man roster from that group of people. I think what's surprising is that we thought that you would add in, maybe a defensive lineman or two, just for catfish and giggles, because it turns out the trenches are important.
Well, hey, they did make one last-minute acquisition, getting DeAndre Walker from the Titans, because they had to waive somebody after they signed Jadeveon Clowney. And we got that guy. We got the guy they let go to put Jadeveon Clowney on their team.
Another way the universe can make this up to me is by making Walker have a better season than Clowney. Like that, just so we can give Clowney the bird just a little bit.
That would make up for it. I would agree.
Yeah. This falls into the sports hate category, right? Like Clowney himself as a human being, I wish him nothing but the best. I hope him and his family are healthy and happy and he has a great life and all that. But if I'm going to talk about my sports hate right now,
right.
Catfish that guy. I'm so sick of his crap. I am actually so happy he's not on the team, even just for this 1 year. I mean, he's basically Jadeveon Favre. Okay. That's who he is. Can't make up his mind. I don't know. I might play. I don't know. Maybe I won't play. Well, maybe I made a decision. No, didn't make a decision. No, I totally made a decision. Screw this guy.
As we were watching the tweets, when it came time for him to finally make a decision if he wanted to be on a week one roster or not, it sounded like the Titans. It sounded like the Saints. But there is an interesting story there. It's just he ends up going to the Titans. We thought that he was ending up going to the Titans, and then there were tweets that was like, oh, wait. He hasn't decided yet. There's still things going on. And there were some behind the scenes things going on. But
what are you talking about when they tried to do the sign and trade stuff?
Yeah, they tried to do a sign and trade with the Browns.
Yeah, so how was that interesting?
That's never been done before, and the NFL said...
Right, because you can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically were like, hey, maybe we could do something you can't do. And the league was like, hey, you can't do that.
Uh-huh.
So no.
Well, other leagues, I think, do that. We've seen similar-ish moves with the Houston Texans and Brock Osweiler essentially trading him for salary and picks. And But this was a little bit different. This was the Browns signing him, technically taking on his salary. The weird thing is that the Saints were willing to give up a second-round pick just for the luxury of being able to sign Clowney, although at a reduced cost.
Yeah, no, that makes sense when your quarterback literally has one last year left in him, and he's given so much to that organization that they're like, yeah, let's load up and we'll give Drew a run.
We're going to push all the chips to the center of the table. Right.
And you're wondering, well, we've got a quarterback who's awesome. Like, why don't we push all the chips to the center, right? And bring in that guy. Well, the thing is that Russ has another 10 years of productive football ahead of him. So you don't need to necessarily go all in. You can see that this offseason, they've gone quite a bit in.
Yeah, giving up 2 first-round draft picks for Jamal Adams. That's making a move.
It's just a different philosophy of going about it than I would have. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And so we can talk about that when we talk about the 53-man roster. But good riddance to Clowney and his indecisive, wish-washing bullshit. Catfish! See you later. I'm done with you.
I want to throw a little more sports hatred kindling onto this fire. Although maybe we're up to the logs now after your rage. But Brady Henderson came in because a lot of us are wondering, okay, well, what did the Seahawks technically offer? Were they in this discussion even toward the end? Brady Henderson put out, he said, my understanding on Jadeveon Clowney and the Seahawks, based on what I've been told over the last few days and months, Clowney turned down $15 million from Seattle months ago. That's the max value of his deal with Tennessee. So that's $15 million if he hits all of his incentives with Tennessee. So he had a chance to come back. The Seahawks made the offer, and then maybe as we got toward the deadline, they're like, okay, well, that offer's just not on the table anymore.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, you got to give Schneider credit, right? Like, that was market value, and that's what he offered him. And he turned it down. So, whatever. I guess I'm just angry at Clowney for holding the franchise hostage to a degree throughout this whole offseason and just toying with all these teams all the way up to 6 days before the season starts. You slacker. Sign. Go to camp. Know your teammates. Learn the defense. I just don't think this guy loves football.
I think that you could extrapolate that from this offseason situation. Guys who love football want to be there and in camp and getting to know guys and enjoy practicing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think this guy loves to dicker. I think Clowney loves to negotiate prices. Like, I think he's one of those guys that like wakes up and cannot wait for Saturday morning to go to yard sales and like have little discussions about whether something's worth 75 cents or $1. You know, like he's the same guy that goes to the grocery store and like has a mini negotiation with the clerk over a gallon of milk. You can't negotiate milk, yet he tries. Right? Like, this is who Clowney is.
Yeah, just take this expired coupon from 2 years ago. It's fine.
I have a feeling that's that guy, right? But one of my neighbors is that way. Everything is a negotiation, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's something between the indecisiveness and then the negotiation. I can't stand that crap. Like, if I see something on Craigslist, let's say it was a topper for my truck, right?
Yeah.
It's $500. And I looked at it and I go, that thing is easily worth $500. It is. I've looked around and everything. $500 is a good deal. You know what I don't do when I show up? Hey, how about $425? It's all I got. No, it's worth $500. The guy's asking $500. You hand him $500 and the catfish deal's done. Okay. And that's not what Clowney did here. Went back and forth and dickered around with everybody. I can't stand that crap. It's a waste of time.
So good riddance as far as Adam's concerned.
Yes.
Well, another guy who is off the team and was a part of the team just in since we did this last episode, Paul Richardson came back to the Seattle Seahawks and then he was cut again.
Right. And I'm not surprised. Look, this was a guy everybody was super hyped about his free agency year where he ended up over in Washington. And Washington paid him a bunch of money. And I said at the time, I'm like, what are you doing? He's not even that good. And because he's not.
He had a good 2017, which is what got him paid.
He had an okay 2017.
Sure.
Whoop-de-doo. He never put anything else together. Like, I never got the Paul Richardson hype. I've never been on the train. So when they signed him back, I was like, that was the wrong dude of the two dudes you had brought in for a workout that day. Bring back Justin Britt.
He's going to be back. I have a feeling. I think maybe it's just that Britt isn't quite healthy enough to go, and they're just waiting for that when that time comes.
It feels that way because I want me some more buttermilk pancakes, man. I do.
If we aren't going to have Clowney, put that money back into the offensive line because that's clearly a need. Obviously, BJ Finney didn't work out because he isn't even seemingly talked about and not even talked about one of the guard positions. So essentially $3.5 million for what he's going to get paid in this next season, guaranteed. They're going to keep him on the roster likely unless they feel like he's really, I mean, that would be really bad if you don't even see him as a backup option at this point. But I suppose I could see John Schneider saying, okay, this is a mistake I'm willing to accept. And if we need a guy in here that's going to perform better than him, then we'll go out and sign that guy instead.
Yeah, I think it's on the table. Look, I think you have a pretty good hypothesis there when it comes to Britt. They brought him in, it sounded like twice even, for a workout, just kind of see where he's at. I'm sure he probably still is a little bit in recovery mode and all that. And look, he knows the offense, he knows Russ and all that. He could come in at pretty much any time. And that's maybe just kind of their ace in the hole. Is like, all right, Justin, you hang out, get a little more healthy. We can bring another dude on the roster in the meantime, and we'll go from there.
The other guy that was brought in, at least signed by the Seahawks, Josh Gordon, given a contract, although still not reinstated yet.
Yeah, which is weird, right? Because that was the whole thing going into this year, that the league was kind of going to lighten up on the weed stuff.
Right.
So why aren't you reinstated yet?
Well, I think, did he not have a PED suspension to go along with it? So they're going to be without him for a number of weeks after they reinstate him, and then because they're going to suspend him.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to wait for whenever that is, I guess.
Yeah. And that's cool. He's a nice depth piece. I like the idea of bringing him in as a kind of an extra little boost later in the season. How much he has in the tank, who really knows? But I'm much more excited about Josh Gordon coming to the team than, say, like Antonio Brown.
Plus, Josh Gordon, he's going to be wanting a new Super Bowl ring now because it looked like he just sold his Super Bowl 53 ring off. And so now he's going to need to replace that.
Be for a much better team this time, too.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want a Patriots Super Bowl ring either.
Well, I mean, there's so many of them out there that it kind of does debase the value of them, right? Like in a supply and demand situation.
Gross.
I know it is. I know.
What's not gross? We got our 2020 Pick'em League. It is out, and I know we have some procrastinators out there because the numbers are a little bit lower than usual. Adam not being in there is a part of it. You can go to SeahawkersPodcast.com and click on the Pick'em League link up toward the top, or you can go to SeahawkersPodcast.com/Pick'em-League. It's easier just to go to the website. Lots of prizes to give away, weekly prizes for the winner. Well, one weekly prize. We're not going to give you multiple prizes for being the winner.
I don't know. Unless you win with some sort of class that we've never seen before, then maybe, we'll float you too. But it'd have to be extraordinary. I don't know. You'd probably have to save like a kid from like a fire or something while winning. I don't know.
That's a good point. We have generally given better prizes out for people who get the perfect week. Pick a full perfect slate of games and then get the win. So that would be the one exception. That's almost like saving a child from a burning building.
Kind of like this defensive line situation that we have going on right now. It may be on fire and it could need some saving almost every single day after the 53-man roster cutdown.
Should we start at the top? Russell Wilson made this team.
Yeah, indeed. Him and Gino, who still is not in witness protection, but we'll figure that out as the season goes on, I'm sure.
They've built a bubble in the VMAC, specifically the Geno bubble.
I want to see Geno Smith like in one of those hamster type bubble wheels, like the balls that, he's going around the VMAC, like just paddling that thing all over the place.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So not a surprise with those two. Danny Etling brought onto the practice squad for the Seahawks, and really, there's not a ton of surprises. Okay, I guess the fringes.
I mean, future Hall of Famer Travis Homer and TD lookalike made it. That was cool.
Yeah. DJ Dallas.
So which one of the backs goes away when Penny's healthy?
Who do you think?
Homer.
Based on the DJ Dallas hype, I would have to say Homer.
Yeah, and I'm going to need to see him play before I get on the hype train, man. His college tape, man, I didn't see it. I really didn't.
And there were some nice parts to it. I think
where he just took the ball and went dead straight at a moderately fast speed when nobody touched him.
Well, they're not going to cut Nick Bellore because they cut him for the 53 and then they brought him back. So we're still doing the fullback thing.
Yeah, for now.
So when Josh Gordon makes the roster, you got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Philip Dorsett. Who do you drop? Well, David Moore restructured his contract, so I think he sticks around. Between John Ursua and Freddie Swain, which one of those goes when Josh Gordon comes back?
I bet you practice squad Freddie.
Unless he's the return man, right?
Unless Dorsett's like, his foot isn't any good by, say, week 10.
Paul Richardson probably going to the 49ers with all the other banged up wide receivers.
Nate, he can go be less than mediocre there.
Just as Annalisa in the Ring of Honor was saying, our team did get 150% more handsome, and then we cut him again. So that's, we lost the handsomeness factor.
Look, if his career could be described and rated merely on his amazing boyish good looks, then he is a first ballot Hall of Famer for the NFL. But unfortunately, good looks only get you so far. Look, Wilson. And he barely made the tight end group. Yeah,
he would be one of the ones I would look to be cut, especially with Colby Parkinson, who was placed on the NFI list.
Non-football injury.
That's what NFI stands for.
Yeah. He had like a foot surgery thing, right?
He did, yeah. And it seemed like that would be a football injury because he was practicing in the offseason. But I guess since there was no offseason, he was working out on his own time, so it gets to be a non-football injury.
Unless the football was physically in his hands when his foot broke, I think you can call it a non-football injury.
Yeah, well, that's how they get around that. Stephon Sullivan also practice squatted.
Yeah, okay.
He's a draft pick. I feel like we have to mention at least the draft picks on where they're going.
Okay, yeah.
Blow me off. Like, what am I doing mentioning Stephon Sullivan, 7th rounder?
Hey, you loved his draft call. I know you're a fan. It's all good, man.
Phil Haynes was moved to injured reserve after he made.
That's actually a bummer, man.
I think he could come back though. I know it is a bummer, but they do have a lot of guard depth. I feel like there's Dwayne Brown and then 8 other guards on the offensive line.
Yeah, the little that for sure. I mean, I think Brandon Shell, you definitely pencil in as a tackle like throughout his career.
Yeah,
we got 2 tackles. Don't get hurt.
Jamarco Jones is your backup tackle, I suppose, on either side, or Abuehi.
Yeah, that seems about right. And look, when you look at this offensive line group, I mean, really, compared to last year, are we better or worse? I think we're better. I genuinely do. There's more depth there. There'll be consistency. I think they're going to be just fine. Look, this offensive line will be firmly a middle of the pack offensive line, and that's fantastic.
I think the problem that I have with the offensive line in general is that you end up paying Brandon Shell a pretty decent amount to come in and be your right tackle. But then you have Finney and Abuehi, who ended up being backup players that you're spending almost $6 million on. Why not just have an upgraded dude beyond Shell as your right tackle? Well,
it's because they're really not out there, man.
There were a couple guys. They could have brought in the dude from Green Bay.
Yeah, they could have. Look, you can tell that they don't have a lot of interest in having old offensive linemen, veteran offensive linemen. Sure, I mean, they have Brown and Body, but I mean, short of last year was the one year where it seemed like they're like, fine, we're going to have all old dudes. This will be good.
Mm-hmm.
With Affetti being kind of the youngster, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And then this year you can tell they're like, no, back to the old ways. Bunch of young dudes.
Yeah. Damian Lewis starting week 1. And we're going to get into a matchup that's going to be one to watch with Lewis come this matchup with the Falcons. Defensive line, man, this is where you look at and you go, wow, this is it, huh? There a lot of hope on Rasheem Green. Jaron Reed, they were fortunate, I think, to bring him back. I don't know if they necessarily do it with the Clowney deal. I suppose they probably could have made it work. Poona Ford is a nice piece there in the middle as well. And then you have Benson Mayowa as the offseason signing, who's never really been a full-time starter. But here we have Rasheem Green, Benson Mayowa as your starting 2 edge guys going into week 1.
Yeah, with little Bruce Irvin mixed in there, right, as well.
That's your linebacker, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as the guys on the outside, they are rolling the dice on the idea that either Robinson, Collier, or Green is going to pop this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, one of these dudes is going to come through. And really, at some point, when you spend that kind of draft capital on defensive line, you actually do have to kind of put your money where your mouth is and say, all right, let's see if these guys are actually worth it.
Catfish!
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going for it with that this year. That was kind of the mindset, and the idea being like, well, if none of them really do, then I guess we'll bring in Mayoa and Irvin, and the defensive line as far as sack production goes. I mean, again, if they can get this to like middle of the pack from dead ass last like it was last year, then it's a win for Schneider. Unfortunately, what really bums me out about this defensive line, how many D tackles are on here, Brandon? How many?
3.
Is that enough D tackles?
They cut DeMarcus Christmas. They cut future Gerald McCoy, PJ Johnson. And so they have 3 dudes left. This has to be a place where there is a move coming. It just hasn't happened yet.
There's got to be. And look, I understand the guys like Green and Collier and Robinson can all bump inside on, pass rushing situations and everything like that. What terrifies me about this group more than the sacks is the idea of just having a jelly down our throat every single first and second down by the Niners. Like, I can close my eyes and see that.
Sure.
With this defensive line. They're not particularly big. They're not particularly strong. This is the weakest link by far.
And you mentioned the 49ers. I think the one team, I suppose you do have to worry about the Patriots come week 1. The Falcons aren't that team. You don't have to worry about them on first and second down because they're throwing the football, 60, 70% of the time.
First down, second down, third down, fourth down, first quarter, fourth quarter. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about the Atlanta Falcons ever.
Right. But in terms of running teams, I think you may be able to get by with it against the Patriots. But then if the Cowboys come to town with Zeke Elliott, then they're just going to run the ball.
It could be a long day. And hey, the people that say, look, you're worrying about this a little too much, believe in John and Pete and all that, they can point to the next 2 position groups to kind of make their point. That
things are looking good?
Yeah. That, hey, I know you're worried about stopping the run, but, we've got guys like Wags and KJ and
Bruce Irvin.
Yeah, Bruce Irvin and Brooks, the new kid. And then you talk about the safety groups and, all that. Like, maybe that's the way they're looking. And we talked a little about this earlier in the season. There's that chicken and the egg thing about how's a great defense built, right? Like, some people believe that you build up the secondary and that makes the defensive line look great, right? I mean, because if you can cover dudes up for 3 seconds, then you allow time for guys to get home and sack the quarterback. There's other people that say, well, hey, a great pass rush is what makes a great secondary. They actually get pressure on the quarterback. They make mistakes. There's more interceptions, more turnovers. You don't have to cover as long. And boy, howdy, have we seen the Seahawks pick one of these philosophies. And it's the exact freaking opposite of the one that I would have used.
And you get to see how it's going to work straight out of the gates against a heavily passing team, right? So It's not necessarily going to mean that that's the answer after 1 week of football, but I think we'll get an idea of just how well this pass rush works against the Falcons.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the most frustrating, one of the most that infuriated fans when Shaquem Griffin was cut from the team, and then he made the practice squad. So I don't think we have to be quite as upset as we were initially when we got that news.
No. So this would have been year 3 for Keem, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's always felt like about a 3-year deal with him for me, just because he's just in between positions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest problem with his game. He's not quite a DN. He's not quite a linebacker. Like, it's just, he's kind of a tweener.
Yeah. If he could play strong safety, maybe, but then you're talking about putting him into a brand new position and learning there. So
yeah,
I feel like that would be about where his size fits the best.
Right. But hey, this could be one of those things where one of those perimeter pass rushers goes down here later in the season, and you see Keem come up from the practice squad and be that guy that comes in and on 3rd and long and just gets after the quarterback. He could be back.
Yeah, I think he could be back. And, whether it's one of the linebackers going down, whether it's, DeMontre Moore, who's kind of on the fringes of that defensive line, and maybe Moore could even be gone if they need to add a defensive tackle. But it just makes me feel better that he's around.
Absolutely. No, it's nice that he's there. So we're happy about that. But then you get to the safety group and you're like, hey, well, here it is. Between the linebackers and the safety, this is where we're building our defense, building our team. Is this going to be a better group than what they put on the field last year overall? That's what you have to ask yourself.
And the answer is yes. If you're not answering yes to that question, because what were the starters? It was Bradley McDougall and Tedrick Thompson were the two starters come week one. And then I think didn't McDougall go down hurt. And so it was Lano Hill and T2. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was not the best pairing.
That was Strugglesville, right? But I feel amazing about the trio of Adams, Diggs, and Blair, and Amadi can even step back in there if he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they use Jamal Adams. I mean, they definitely decided that, like, hey, we're not going to go out and get that traditional pass rusher. We're going to bring in Adams, who we can use in so many different ways as a Swiss Army knife to really just screw up the play that way. I think what this matchup is going to show us with the Falcons, I mean, at least it's going to give us a glimpse, is how they want to play this year. Because this season feels very different than every other season here in the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson era in terms of how this team is going to play.
The way that they went after Greg Olson in the offseason to sign an additional tight end, along with Will Dissly coming back healthy, signing Josh Gordon to the wide receiver group when you already had made additions with Philip Dorsett on the team. So it's a deep group on offense, and it almost makes you feel like they're going to be throwing the ball around a little bit more this season.
I hope you're ready for a lot of 35-32 Seahawks victories this year. Somewhere in there. I do, man. I do. Look, they went all in on offense this offseason. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do. Pete and John have said all this stuff about what they're going to do this season and blah, blah, blah. Look at what they've done. They've gone all in on offense and then doubled down on it again. Our best player is Russell Wilson. They decided, look, we're going to go as far as he can take us. That's it.
Hey, I was going to argue with you on the fact that they weren't going to be close games at the end. We're just going to start blowing teams out.
Okay. I just see him getting chewed up on the ground.
Yeah.
Interior. I think on the perimeter, they're going to be better against the run this year than they were last year.
You still do have Bobby Wagner in the middle, though, of the defense for the run game.
Yeah, that's fine. But if you pancake the D end that came in to play nose tackle when you ran power right up the middle, and then that offensive lineman is able to get right up on Wags, or two of them get up on Wags and double team him, what difference does it matter if you have Wags there?
Got Jamal Adams to clean it up then.
God, I hope so. Right?
There's a little hope going into the season, isn't there?
Dude, there's a lot of hope. And again, I think they're going to have a nice year. And there's a lot of things about the schedule and what they did this offseason that lines up nicely. Just for me, we're transitioning to a form of football that I do not want to see us transition to. This is not the way I believe you win championships on the regular. This is not the way you can be consistent year in and year out. And that's to basically be the Peyton Manning Colts every year.
Well, and I think that brings us to this Falcons team a little bit, because this is a team where, outside of when they had Kyle Shanahan, this is a team that throws the ball around a lot. They've become a little bit predictable. It's the Matt Ryan, Julio Jones show, and they have some other nice pieces at receiver, and they lose their tight end that was a big target for Matt Ryan for the last few years. Okay. I know you're a big Austin Hooper fan.
Oh my God. The most overpaid free agent this offseason. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a favorite target of Matt Ryan, though.
Yeah, sure.
Just telling you what Falcons fans think, man.
That was a just false statement overall right there. That can't possibly be true.
That is what
started with Falcons fans, as if there's some.
That is what a Falcon fan said.
Maybe they were confused and they're like Falconers, like they're a fan of like the flying actual bird.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like I saw a chick in the gas station parking lot, like flying a falcon the other day on like a tether.
Just recreationally?
Yeah, that's what she was doing. So I'm thinking maybe that's who you thought the Falcon fan was. She's just a fan of Falcons.
And she just happened to know Austin Hooper and Cleveland Brown tight end Austin Hooper and where he was last year.
Yeah, I doubt it.
But I think the point that I'm trying to make is that here you have a team with the Atlanta Falcons that throw the ball all over the place. Now, they don't have that great of a defense, but they put up lots of points. They put up lots of yards, more yards than anything, really. And this is not what I think you would point to and say this is a winning franchise.
Well, it hasn't been for the last few years. And look, they had that one rando year where they somehow gacked up a Super Bowl to Tom Brady.
Yeah. Matt Ryan was in MVP form. They had two running backs that they could hand it off to reliably. And you had Kyle Shanahan coaching the offense, and which is what got him the job in San Francisco. They lose that. They go to Dirk Cutter, who's the offensive coordinator. He doesn't like to run the football at all. So he didn't have any success with that philosophy in Tampa Bay, and he's not having success with that philosophy in Atlanta.
Well, it's Sarkisian now, right? Isn't he the OC?
No, it's Dirk Cutter.
No, I don't think so, man.
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian went to Alabama to be their OC in 2019, and so that's when they brought back Cutter.
Oh, okay. Well, you can see how much that moved the needle. Look, this is a team. I'll give you the case that people are making for the Atlanta Falcons. I hear some people that are kind of high on this team, and a lot of them are. Look, they got decimated by injuries early, found a way to rally towards the end of the year, and played some good football their last 5-6 games. That sounds like a typical Atlanta Falcons season to me. Completely implode at some point and then play some middling football somewhere in there and don't amount to really anything. And this is just one of those games I look at and have very little concern over. I mean, look, what are they going to do? Like, you can't Julio us to death on every single play.
I think that you can hope for that. There's one area that is my biggest concern with this game, and that is looking on the defensive line for the Falcons and seeing Grady Jarrett's name, and then knowing that we have Damian Lewis coming in as a rookie,
right,
and starting at that spot with Ethan Posick next to him. I'm worried about Grady Jarrett and disrupting the middle of the offensive line.
Grady Jarrett is one of the best examples ever of what it is to be an Atlanta Falcon, right? You mentioned that, they had the 1 year where everything went right for him and went to the Super Bowl, right? Like Mercury was in retrograde or something. Like there was some sort of weird celestial alignment. This is exactly how Jarrett plays. He's just ho-hum all the time. And then he has one game a year
against
where he
Seattle.
Just dominates. And no, it hasn't been against Seattle. It's usually against an NFC South compatriot, right? So I don't know. Do you think this is the one rando game that Grady Jarrett comes to play this year?
You think that going up against a rookie that's not going to give him an opportunity to flash a little bit?
If this was a rookie that was coming from, say, like, I don't know, some tier 2 conference, like the MAC or something like that, then okay. But Damian Lewis is coming from the SEC. Super enormous catfish. If you watch Deadwood, you'll understand that is an underutilized word in the lexicon of the day.
I do need to watch Deadwood.
But is there another dude in that defensive front that really makes you, shiver in your shoes?
I mean, you look at Dante Fowler, who they brought in from the Rams. He did have double-digit sacks with the Rams last season.
Yeah, he also had basically nobody blocking him because of Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald, right. Yeah, and so I think it's important to preface that. There's Takk McKinley on the defensive line. I mean, he's okay, but I'm less worried about this defensive line than I am looking down the schedule at a team like the Cowboys.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you come to just names and the way you look at a roster, the Cowboys are certainly more stacked than the Falcons. But I just still don't believe in the Cowboys because of the fact that they couldn't even win an absolutely garbage division last year. And some people will be like, oh, well, they got rid of Jason Garrett. Well, that's cool. But then got another middling coach in McCarthy. I don't see the real upgrade there. It's like when I'm looking at this Atlanta team compared to last year, where's the big upgrade? Like, what is it that I'm supposed to look at and be like, oh, yeah, these guys ought to be better?
They did draft A.J. Terrell at corner, but I don't know if, right out of the gate, that he's going to be an upgrade necessarily. That I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that matchup. And you can make the argument, well, he practices up against Julio Jones in practice, so he has to be prepared, for NFL type matchups on the other side of the football, but still, that first game as a rookie and you're out there on an island, I'm curious to see where the Seahawks go with that. There's really nobody in, that back seven that scares me much either.
The only player that on that defense that I actually really think is a player that I really like is Kean O'Neal.
Yes.
He hasn't
been able to stay healthy, really.
He hasn't. So, having him week one, I'm sure that'll help for sure. But what happened to Trufant?
Did he go to Detroit?
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, they let him go.
Oh, how did I forget to mention that the ghost that is Todd Gurley will be in the backfield?
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Todd Gurley's name until now.
No, that's because he's basically out of the league.
He could.
Although I would say if I were to fear Todd Gurley at all this season,
it'd be in
the first 2 weeks.
Right.
I'm dead serious. Yeah.
But I think that they probably would hold off on giving him 20 carries in week one after not having a preseason.
Right.
I don't think he's going to get a ton of action. They're going to slowly work him in.
So basically they did a switcheroo with the AFC North on tight ends. They brought in Hayden Hurst from Baltimore and got rid of the overrated Austin Hooper.
Yeah, they actually traded for Hurst.
Oh, that's right. What was it? It was something higher than you would have guessed.
It was like a third, I think.
Second round.
It was higher than I would think then.
Yeah, apparently. True fact. But I mean, that's an upgrade for him, I guess.
I don't know if it's an upgrade.
Hayden Hurst over Austin Hooper?
Hayden Hurst is okay.
He's better than Austin Hooper.
I mean, the scary pieces on this team are the guys they have at wide receivers, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley.
Right.
And their offensive line is not that great. Caleb McGarry, I think that if we see a huge game from Rasheem Green this week or Benson Mayowa, if they're lining him up on the right side, I don't think there's a lot that we can take away from that because he's basically a turnstile.
So with Matt Ryan being as immobile as he is, and this offensive line being kind of a bunch of cast-offs for the most part, if the Seahawks don't generate at least a little pressure on Matt Ryan here, I'm going to be surprised. Look, this would be a matchup that actually works very much in the favor of the Seahawks because every team they come up against that has a real offensive line, they're going to have some struggles with. Like, it's going to be up to Russell Wilson to score 35 points. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it's going to be. I think in this game, they could easily score 28, 30 points and win by 2 scores.
Except it's week one.
I don't care.
Those are always close games.
Yeah.
It's almost always close games whenever we play the Falcons.
I don't know, Brandon. Look, if you look at this matchup, is there any one place that you feel like Atlanta has a serious advantage?
Whoever's going up against Julio.
There you go.
That's the one spot.
Right.
So if they're double teaming Julio, then they have Calvin Ridley to go to. I mean, it's just going to be whether or not Matt Ryan has enough time to throw the football and find the open guys with those two guys.
That might be the case. And hey, look, you are right about the early season struggles. I mean, look at last year. It was week one with Cincinnati, right?
Right. At home.
I know. Well, that came down to the gun. And, we can all pretty much agree by close to the end of the year there that the Seahawks would have wiped the floor with the Bengals at that point.
The Seahawks have only lost one regular season matchup with the Falcons since Russell Wilson's been on the team. And that was
that was the game that they cheated, right? Where Julio pushed off from Sherm.
We won that game.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the one we lost. But again, they start to get blurry, 2-3 years in the rearview mirror. Maybe some of you human computers remember that stuff. I don't.
Yeah, there was one game where they were up big going into the fourth quarter, 34-23, and that was in Seattle, and the Seahawks scored a late touchdown, and then they got the ball back right at the end, and Blair Walsh missed a 52-yarder that would have tied it up.
Okay, that feels about right.
Yeah, that was one of the Blair Walsh losses that we could attribute it to him.
Right.
One thing that we didn't do, looking back at the roster again for a second, I'm looking at the linebacker group and the fact that they're spending so heavily among the linebackers with Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright. If you put Bruce Irvin in that group, just your starting linebackers are around $30 million, I think, in salary cap. Well, maybe not quite 30 I think it's over 30 though for all your linebacker core. And that puts them like up in that that area with teams like the Cardinals, Bears, the Packers, the Broncos with Von Miller, the Bucks. They have Shaq Barrett and Levante David that they're paying a bunch to linebackers. If there's one thing that I'm going to look back on this season and say they paid one group more than they should, and that's what hurt what they were able to do on the defensive line, it's going to be the linebacking group.
And that feels mainly KJ Wright's salary, right?
Yeah.
Like KJ's a fine player.
$10 million is his cap number this year.
And look, he deserves every dollar of that $10 million for what he's meant to the organization and all that. But this year, for what he can do compared to where we could have spent that money in other areas of need, that seems to be problematic. Look, and Josh Schneider feels the same way, right? The writing's on the wall.
Sure.
They didn't draft Jordan Brooks to, just hang out.
No, they have plans for Jordan Brooks.
Yeah.
And with Cody Barton on the team.
And that's why they started him at weak side, right? Yeah. I mean, this is the last year for KJ. And I think if maybe the right deal had come along to bring in a real difference maker on the edge, they probably would have, either figured out how to restructure with KJ or cut him or whatever, but it didn't happen.
No, so there's the linebacking group, and then when I run down some of the players on offense, and I look at BJ Finney's $3.5 million, Jacob Hollister's 3.2, Carlos Hyde at 2.8, and Abuehi at 2.2. That's almost $12 million in 4 players where you're at the third person on the depth chart and beyond. If you put Abuehi even behind Jamarco Jones at backup, and Carlos Hyde is the third running back, essentially, if you have a healthy Rashad Penny.
Are we sure?
I mean, I'm not sure.
Okay, because I'm definitely not sure about that one.
But he's still the backup behind Chris Carson. Jacob Hollister still your third tight end.
After the last couple of years, do you think you can spend enough on the running back room right now?
No, I'm okay. And even when Fournette was cut from the Jaguars, you're looking at that going, well, could they make that happen?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of wanted it, but then again, I mean, it makes all the sense for him to be in Tampa.
They could have cut Hyde, though, and brought in Fournette.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think they gave Hyde a $750,000 signing bonus, so they would have been out that. But I'd feel better about Fournette over Hyde.
Yeah. I mean, both coming off similar seasons last year. Mm-hmm. If you're going to look at it statistically.
I think Fournette actually had more receptions, though.
He did.
Hyde had a lot of receptions when he was down in San Fran, but
that's not necessarily what you do in Bill O'Brien's scheme, right? As a running back.
No.
Whereas Fournette was definitely, Minshew's safety blanket in a lot of ways. But it doesn't matter. He's not on this team. He gets to go play with old man Tom. Good for him.
But those are two of the areas where I do look at, because, gosh, if you add up all those 4 guys' salaries, you're looking at almost $12 million, and Clowney's base is $12 million. Like, would you rather have a starting dude on the defensive line making a difference versus depth pieces? I would.
I think it's an interesting question, right? Because you'd have to fill in those depth pieces one way or the other. So the only way that you'd fill in those depth pieces then are through the draft. You want to rely on that many young, lowly drafted dudes. When you invest everything in your starters, right? Mm-hmm. It's a major problem. And it's one of the things that, honestly, we as fans have a problem with in the offseason. We look at these things like, oh, they got this dude and that dude and blah, blah, blah. Well, you're 2 injuries away from those guys never being around. And all of a sudden you're to these rookies or undrafted guys you've never heard of, and everything falls apart. Like, you're going to have to pay $2 to $3 million a guy to have them come in with a little bit of veteran experience to be able to be adequate. So hold down the fort until that starter comes back. I don't mind spending on depth that much.
Oh, I don't mind necessarily spending on depth either, but let's look at some of these depth pieces. With BJ Finney, pick a guard on the team that I wouldn't care if it's, Jamarco Jones, Phil Haynes, I know he's injured, Jordan Simmons, who's injury prone. Mm-hmm. Those guys, I'd be okay with having any of them over Finney as a backup. Hollister, the difference between Hollister and Luke Wilson, between when you get down to the third dude. I mean, there's a difference, but is it worth that much? I don't think so.
What's the monetary amount difference? And I can tell you.
Over $2 million.
Yeah, he's $2 million better than Luke Wilson. Because while neither of them can block, at least Hollister can run and catch.
Sure.
That's worth $2 million. Olson as your number one, a guy who's 97 years old.
Yeah.
Disley, who's injury prone. Yeah, I don't mind paying Hollister a couple bucks to be there. He was super clutch last year, was he not? When the whole tight end room blew up.
I don't have a problem with them paying guys. It's that would I rather have a competent guy that I know I can count on the defensive line versus these guys? The answer is yes.
You're talking 5-1, 5 dudes to 1 dude.
4-1. Yeah. Finney, Hollister, Hyde, Abuehi.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
Especially when that one guy, right, was Clowney. A guy who's hasn't strung together too many healthy seasons.
Yeah. Well, then throw in Everson Griffin and you got change left over for Justin Britt.
Okay. Now you're talking my language if you go that direction, but they clearly were never really interested in that.
I think they were interested in Griffin, and I think they missed out on that one.
Either that or Griffin wasn't interested in being here.
I mean, I can hope for that, but you need to make that happen, I feel like.
No, and that's one of the things with Clowney going to the Titans. Like, he's a Southern guy. He wants to be in the South. God knows why, but that's where he wants to be. I think maybe he just wants to play Bill O'Brien twice a year.
You know, that makes sense for him. He reunites with his old defensive coach. That's fine.
For the life of me, I can't understand when that dude made that decision. Like, 2 teams that both won a game in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And the Titans having Ryan Tannehill and then the Seahawks having Russell Wilson. And you're like, well, I want to be on a contender going forward. And that was the decision you made?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, then. Last time people picked Ryan Tannehill over Russell Wilson, it was a mistake. It's a mistake this time, too.
I'm with you.
Catfish!
That guy.
Catfish!
That guy.
And with that, what do you say we get on to the second half of the show?
Sounds good.
All right, Adam. I took the break to think about it. I'm still mad at John Schneider and Pete Carroll about the defensive line.
Yeah, we're all definitely a little disappointed, I think.
Because you can't say that, okay, Everson Griffin didn't want to be here. They couldn't go out and get Jarrell Casey in the trade with Tennessee. They couldn't get Calais
why
Campbell.
Not on that one? Yeah, the Jarrell Casey and the Campbell one. I think those are the two that stick in my craw harder than Clowney.
Yeah, you couldn't make those deals happen. You couldn't give up a 6th for Casey instead of a 7th that the Broncos gave him. Okay.
I didn't understand that one.
Campbell, too. Although I could see him wanting to go to Baltimore more exclusively. But like with Everson Griffin, I mean, there's the Pete Carroll relationship there. That just made a lot of sense to me.
Well, look, I mean, one of the things you do have to realize is that a lot of these folks, like the Pacific Northwest has never been somewhere that draws free agents for some reason. It's because they must have no taste for where a cool place to live is. You know, the only taste they have is in their mouth. It's clearly what's going on.
I'm not so upset about them not getting Ngakoue, even though he did give up $6 million to go to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think after you do the Adams trade, trading big time draft picks for Ngakoue at that point, I don't think you can do that. Plus, don't forget, you have to pay Adams now.
Yeah, I remember that. I was more thinking with Ngakoue that you're having to give up a 2nd. You're going to have to pay him as much as you were essentially going to pay Clowney anyway. You know, why not just pay Clowney and keep your draft picks? But
yeah, and you're already down 2-1s.
Yeah, it'd be
maybe.
I know there's a lot of question marks with the drafts coming up these next couple of years, but not so much that I think you'd just give up your entire draft.
No, but I do think that makes this move a little smarter. The Adams situation.
Oh yeah, and even the Ngakoue move for the Vikings, I think it makes sense for them.
Well, and it does if you believe in the idea that it's win now time for them and that Kirk Cousins can be a Super Bowl quarterback.
I think there's even some questions about the health of Danielle Hunter right now, too.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of people giving Ngakoue a hard time, like, oh, what a moron, for giving up $6 million to leave Jacksonville to go to Minnesota. Like, I know at $6 million is a lot of money for most people, but I'd take a 33% pay cut to go from a place where I didn't like to a place where I would want to live.
So one of the things that you need to understand is that Jacksonville has had like the most cases of player grievances filed against their organization out of anyone in the league in like the last 5, 6, 7 years. Something along those lines. The players hate being there. They hate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what's the price tag that you put on happiness, Brandon? Like, you know?
That's what I'm saying. It's not like he's going from 6 million down to 0.
Right.
He's going from 18 down to 12.
Right. There's still millions in his future.
Yeah. Where do you, and I can be really, really happy at 12. The difference in my happiness level from having $12 million in my pocket versus $18 million, I think I could still be pretty happy at 12.
Maybe you buy one less house. Maybe you cut down your entourage by one guy. You know, there's always that one at the end of the depth chart on the entourage that you just don't need around, right?
Yeah. Give me $18 million and find out where my problems are. Give me $6 million to solve those problems, and I'll see how things turn out. Yeah.
I have a feeling that I'll be okay.
So, yeah, good for Minnesota, but not necessarily a move that I'm unhappy about. Anything else going into this week 1 that you want to get to before we welcome some of our new members of the flock?
Just I'm freaking stoked. I've been sitting here this whole summer just being like, just give me ball. Just please give me ball this year. That's all I ask. I don't care if there's fans in the stands. I don't care about any of that crap. Maybe they all have to wear. I don't care. I don't care what they have to wear. I don't care how many feet apart people are. I don't care. But just give me ball for the love of God. Thank you, NFL, for at least giving it a go. I need this. I need this badly.
I'm feeling pretty optimistic at this point. Watching the way some of the other sports have handled their issues and seeing how the NFL has really had relatively few positive tests throughout the preseason, at least that we know about. I don't know if they're covering stuff up, but it seems like things are going pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know if they're really covering anything up. I mean, they had that rash of false positives on that one day, right?
Right. Which could foul things up a little bit if that happened again.
Yeah, exactly. So they had a bunch of false positives on one day. How many days until they had that cleared up?
Yeah, they turned that around pretty easy.
It was less than a 24-hour cycle, and they had it figured out. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I think they're going to make this work, and we're just going to have to see who is able to stay healthy and where that goes throughout the season. It's going to be different, but at least it's here.
At least it's here. Thank God.
And we're doing Pick'em League again. I mentioned that earlier, SeahawkersPodcast.com. Click on the Pick'em League link. I got some weekly prizes here for September. We had one of our members of the flock donate. It's a Seattle skyline, and it's kind of an artistic print. It shows the 12 building with the number 12 on it, and it's all lit up. And it's just a cool 8x10 photo. I'm supposed to be getting that here in the mail soon. I've got Shaquem Griffin and Shaquille Griffin Funko Pop tandem, those little Funko Pop dolls. I've got a Jaron Reed signed 8x10. Got a Thomas Rawls signed 8x10 too.
That's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
I would actually keep that.
Do you want it?
Kind of.
Okay, we'll win week 1 and you can pick that prize for yourself.
Win week 1. Like I wasn't going to. That's cute that you thought so.
I'll set it aside for you.
Okay.
I now know what you want when you win.
There we go.
Our grand prize this year, it's your choice of either a full-size signed Seahawks helmet from Michael Dixon, and paired with that first prize is a knife from Buck Knives.
Heck yeah, man. Killer prizes for this year.
And so you can either pick the full-size Michael Dixon helmet with the inscription "Punters are people too," or we have the Doug Baldwin signed football from his rookie season that was donated by Dustin Mock. Those two prizes may sound familiar, and that's because John Davison won last year. And since he's been with the show from the beginning, and I had to mail it overseas, I gave John the choice of those prizes or a signed helmet of his choice. He said, "I want a Cam Chancellor signed helmet." And so yes, I ordered that for John and carried over those grand prizes to this year.
Yeah, no, it all worked out really well for everybody. So if you were bummed out last year that you weren't John and didn't win, then here you go.
Yeah.
Second chances.
And so second prize can be the one to choose from those, or we can work something out, especially for those outside the US. Like if I look up shipping and it's going to be like $80 to ship a prize overseas, I will say to you, Is there something else that you want where I can get, the shipping? Because I don't know, do businesses get better deals at shipping or what? Because I can order something from a place like Mill Creek Sports and they can ship it overseas and I get charged way less shipping. So I feel better making that transaction.
Right. Yeah. But maybe they have some connections there with the foreign government's postal departments. I don't know how that works. There's something going on here. Yeah. Maybe it's fishy.
I would ask people to look into it, but I feel like there's a lot of questions around the mail system in general right now that I don't want to add to the confusion.
Right. Like we'll just kind of let that one lie.
For now, let them work out the other issues, and then we can get to my issue.
Gotcha.
What do you say we welcome some new members of the flock?
Well, it's about damn time. Yeah, I've been waiting for this all day.
John V. Sullivan comes in at $3 a month, says, I think I managed to sign up 1 week before my freeloader status runs out. It's like almost forgetting to file your taxes. You guys should give other technical advice to all the other podcasters out there. You're working from undisclosed locations in the wilds of Montana, and you sound way better than 99% of the stuff out there. I actually do tech work in news radio, and as Pete would say, you're legit. But most importantly, your podcast has kept me mostly sane during the weirdest, longest off-season ever. I've given up explaining to my family why I'm randomly snort laughing when my earbuds are in. Got a good feeling about this year. Go Hawks from John.
Go Hawks, John. No, you got to give Brandon 100% credit on that one because he really has made this actually sound like a professional production. The fun part is for when I actually move out to the cabin.
Yeah.
How we're going to make that go. And I think it's going to work.
I feel like you have at least enough gear to make your audio work. There may be some weeks where we end up just having to go with phone quality audio because something didn't work technically, but we're going to make this work.
We're going to make this work. And at worst, I think that's going to be the first couple months of the season here because I have high hopes that the interwebs are coming.
Yes, I've been watching Elon Musk's progress on Starlink over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Well, this will parlay into my Better at Life a little bit.
Yeah. He's no stranger to your Better at Life segment.
Well, newsflash, Brandon, it's not for Elon. Okay.
Okay.
I've got a new internet boyfriend.
Oh,
yeah.
Can't wait to hear about it.
Exactly.
William Rawl, one of my new internet boyfriends, came in at $3 a month.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it, William. You're getting in at the right time because this is going to be an exciting season. I really, again, it's not the type of ball that I think I want to play. And again, we haven't seen it yet, so we don't know for sure. But it is going to be interesting. I can say that at the very least.
It is not going to be drastically different, I don't think.
Well, it is. It is going to be drastically different, Brandon. I mean, at the end of the day, like, they're not going to be relying on the defense to win these games. Like, you can tell the whole organization has made that kind of mental shift to being more of an offensive franchise.
Well, and I guess in that sense, that's because they've learned over these last 2 years that you can't count on the defense.
No, not when you've got that much money tied up in a quarterback.
Blake Nelson has a lot of money tied up in this show over the next year. He was our first one to come in under the annual option at getintheflock.com.
Nice. He's a pioneer.
It's exactly. He says, Great show. Been listening since last offseason. You have a chemistry that's rare not only among podcaster, but among friends in general. The only thing you're egregiously wrong about is pancakes are far superior to waffles. Pancakes are the finest poetry. Waffles are okay if you like things that come out of an iron. Go Hawks. Best wishes, Blake from Olympia. So Blake, not only the first person to take us up on the annual option, the first pancake truther to respond to our take here recently.
It's true. Look, Blake can't be perfect at everything, right? Like, there's got to be a hole in his awesomeness somewhere. And it's right here by not appreciating, the extra numminess that is the waffle. It cooks both sides at the same time. The efficiency is off the charts with the waffle.
It is. And I feel like we can go hard right back at Blake with this because he came in with the annual donation. There's no going back for the whole year now.
Yeah. Oops. But the other thing about the waffle is it's got all the individual little compartmentalized little holders for your syrup and the butter or peanut butter or whatever it is.
Although I will say that the thing that is the toughest, like although you have your compartments for syrup and things, like if you're a butter on your breakfast food type person, pancakes is the better way to go. The easier way. It's the easier way. You're taking the easy way out with the pancakes.
That's like, how hard is it to butter a waffle? Like, this isn't like one of the great struggles of humanity. It's like, what's harder to do? Drive a Ford pickup 100 miles an hour or a Lambo 100 miles an hour? Either way, you're going 100 miles an hour, and you don't have to put in much effort.
You really have to like butter on your waffles because so much of it gets right into the holes, and then you're trying to dig it out and move it to the next hole. It can be a chore if you just want a little, if you want to spread your butter evenly on a waffle.
Well, then you better have butter waffling technique perfection. Like, you got to get better at this. This is something that, you got to work on. The separation is in the preparation. And what you need to do, you have to have the right knifing, because if you angle the butter knife just right, you only get half of each square filled with the butter, which is perfect and delicious. And you just, it's like 3 smearing strokes of butter. Then you bathe in the syrup, and then you put that delicious numminess right in your mouth.
I may not have the knife angle thing down yet, but see, I'm just saying, even with this problem, I find waffles to be superior. It's just that if I were to put, the number one thing that I struggle with when it comes to waffles, that would be it.
I think there's one thing that you're overlooking, though, and it's the structural integrity of either the waffle or the pancake, right? Like, if you have colder butter, right, like that it's come out of the fridge, the waffle is easier to butter because it doesn't fall apart and tear apart as much as the pancake
I've never been the cold butter person, so maybe that's my problem.
Saying sometimes that happens.
It could be a me problem.
Yeah, so there you go.
Use colder butter.
Better integrity.
See, I always just went with the strategy of not toasting the waffle quite as heavy and then just pressing it down like to make the waffle flat on the inside.
Oh.
Just spread the butter that way. It ruins the integrity of the waffle. You don't get the nice little compartments, but you have your butter spread evenly.
I guess. That seems like an odd workaround. I think you can do better.
Marlon came in for the year at 12-12, so big thanks to Marlon, taking advantage of that annual option as well.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that, Marlon. And I have a strong suspicion that Marlon, also a waffle person.
Yeah, he did not respond one way or the other.
No, but that's okay. We know.
Christoph Smith in at $5 a month for the next year. Again, we got 3 people coming in with the annual donations, with recognizing them at their monthly contribution. So a big thanks to Christoph as well.
Yeah, appreciate Christoph coming in, man. I didn't know that this annual donation thing would be so popular, but I dig that.
I do too. And you can even make the switch if you're doing month to month and you're thinking to yourself, I want to go annually. That way, if it works out better for you, then you can do that. But Christopher Rolfe, he came in at $3 a month. And there's a name that I recognize well from at Agent of Bolas on Twitter. He's always coming in on our 3 and 3 out shows with Clinton. And so I think Christopher, he may have been coming up on his freeloader deadline. So I appreciate Christopher coming in with the monthly donation.
Yeah, me too, man. And I actually appreciate everybody, actually honoring the freeloader deadline, right? Like, you don't have to.
No.
But then you just be guilty on the inside every night when you go to sleep.
The 2-year grace period, it gives you time to decide that if this is a show for you. And,
right.
And then, yeah.
I think 2 years is a generous grace period, too.
It is.
Yeah. See how it all works?
We're being cool to you. You're being cool to us. We're all being cool.
It's the prosperity principle, man. You share the prosperity, everybody gets better.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, my dad. It's a big thing for my dad.
Oh,
and it's honestly probably why he's been as successful as he has in business.
The prosperity principle.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
dropping knowledge. And see, if you're skipping past this donation segment, you're missing nuggets like that.
You're missing nuggets like that, man.
Brian Barlow came in with a PayPal donation of $25. Thanks to Brian.
I appreciate that, Brian. So I'm curious, like, if your first name is, generic and boring, like say Adam or Brandon or Brian, then when it comes time for your pick'em league name, like that's the time that you can get really creative and have some fun, right? And have a cooler name for a change. I'm curious what Brian comes up with.
What are you coming up with? You got a name locked in?
I'm not revealing that yet. Meaning I haven't thought about it for a second, but I will. I've got 26 hours to drive to Arkansas this week. I have plenty of time to think about my pick'em league name.
I think I'm doing a throwback name for my pick'em league. I'm going with my fantasy football team name. And this one, I got this from the George Carlin bit. My team name is The Blue Food.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. Good for you, man.
Ties in color-wise with our team colors and with George Carlin.
It's funny. I went down a George Carlin rabbit hole maybe like last week and, watched a few clips. And maybe it was the week before. Something like that.
I saw you posted a video on your Facebook page.
Catfish! I miss him. Like out of all the celebrity deaths that have happened, right? Yeah,
and he's been gone a little while now.
Yeah, none of them have really hit me in any way. It's just like, oh, that guy's dead now. Okay, whatever. Like they just don't move the needle for me at all. That one did.
Yeah. Chadwick Boseman this past week or so. That one got to me.
He seemed like a nice dude. I just don't know.
Well, you just haven't watched. You haven't followed along with the Marvel movies.
I did watch Black Panther. I thought he was very good in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as anything else, I didn't know him.
You haven't seen? Have you seen? You've seen 42.
42.
The Jackie Robinson movie.
No,
you didn't see that? Oh, go back and watch that.
Is it good? I mean, I kind of know the story.
I think we kind of all know the story, but he plays Jackie well.
Oh, well, cool. Talented actor. That was just a guy I just not personally connected to. Yeah. Like if Dave Chappelle were to die tomorrow, that would hit me in a certain kind of way.
Yeah. So you're the movie actors don't get you. It's the comedians.
Yeah. Actors or singers, they really don't get me. It's more the comedians. Yeah.
Fair enough. Leon LaFleur comes in with a donation of $15 through PayPal. Says, despite the fact we were waiting for nothing for Clowney, I am fired up for the upcoming season. Best regards from Germany. Go Hawks from Leon.
Hey, go Hawks, Leon. I think he summed up our entire show in about 10 seconds and did it he's better at life than us. You can tell. Yeah.
Leon could do a 20-second podcast.
And it would cover everything.
Bummed about Clowney, fired up for the season. Go Hawks.
Done. Drop the mic. Go do Germany things.
Jeff Scott came in. I know we've heard from Jeff in the past. He came in with $40 on PayPal. Says the subject line of the email, cake a la mode. See, I think we need to talk about food more because this seems to hit on even more than some of our Seahawks stuff.
Yeah, this is apparently where we resonate with the listeners.
Says, hey guys, just wanted to drop an email along with my donation. I think I'm late to renew, but I needed to avoid being a freeloader again, especially since you guys are helping me get through this insane year we call 2020. Hopefully 2021 turns out being better with finally getting through COVID and a Lombardi back in Seattle. Thanks for the laughs, content, and debatable sanity. Since I heard your show a little while ago that discussed cake versus pie for birthdays, I knew I needed to do something for my 40th birthday that was coming up and passed. Oh, congrats on 40 to Jeff. Man. That's cool. As my subject line implies, I had to send the attachment picture to you guys. My family tradition on birthdays is to have funfetti cake, and I had to make it a la mode just for Adam. Picture attached.
I have questions for Jeff.
To top it all off, my wife and kids got me a Seahawk Xbox controller, picture also attached, which I opened in front of my in-laws who are Cardinals fans.
Ah, yes.
Lastly, I think Mookie brought up an interesting idea on the field goals episode regarding our defense that makes me a little of an optimist and might add to the idea that Schneider and Carroll are actually smarter than all of us. Our offseason seems to have a couple of key themes. Offense is being built to be faster and even more explosive to score faster, and our defense is pretty stacked outside the D-line. So if we can score fast and force teams to throw, we let our back end dominate and either provide more time for the defensive line to get to the quarterback or the defensive line will at least provide a little pressure to force errant throws and interceptions. Could we see the Hawks actually opt to receive the kick to start the game? Doubt it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I'm still holding out hope for a miracle defensive line signing. Keep up the great work. Thank you, and go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks, Jeff. So he was thinking a lot along the lines that you were, right? In the sense of, hey, load up an offense, get out early, and then let
I've been talking about getting out early on teams since we started the show, Adam. That's how I like to see my team play. I don't like to have a heart attack in the fourth quarter every week.
Well, then you don't know what it's like to really live then, Brandon.
I do know because I've lived that way the last 3 years.
See, but Jeff does know how to live, right? Like funfetti cake, underrated cake, the funfetti.
If you're going to go with white cake, you need to have funfetti in it.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great move. Now, the big question I have is the tradition the funfetti cake, or is the tradition on his birthday funfetti cake a la mode? Or did he just pull that one out? And was the a la mode, since it was a white cake, was it a scoop of chocolate? Was it Rocky Road? Was it like a rainbow sprinkles? I don't know.
No, it was vanilla.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at the picture.
I couldn't see the picture.
It looks maybe French vanilla because it's not the bright white kind of vanilla.
Okay. Well, he needs to add some diversity to his cake a la mode, clearly.
Unless it's like a dulce de leche, but I don't see any kind of swirls.
No swirls.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want swirls in the ice cream.
You need to give us more details. I know pictures are worth 1,000 words, but it doesn't tell us what kind of ice cream this is.
No. But yeah, merry birthday to Jeff, and thanks for the donation, man.
That would be kind of odd to go with a really boring ice cream flavor on top of funfetti cake.
That's what I'm getting at.
Funfetti deserves something with chunks in it.
Yeah.
For the ice cream.
Like moose tracks,
cookie dough. Even if you go like mint chocolate chip.
But let's say the white ice cream was, say, like the coconut ice cream from the Big Dipper in Missoula.
Oh, okay. We need to give some credit here that maybe Jeff isn't completely boring when it comes to ice cream.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But I think the tradition is the funfetti and maybe not necessarily the ice cream right on top.
Or maybe a coffee-based ice cream. Ice cream and coffee are an amazing mix.
Not a fan.
That's because you must be dead on the inside. How do you not like coffee flavored ice cream?
I don't like the flavor of coffee.
I don't. You know what? Somebody earlier said we had good chemistry, not just podcasters, but as friends.
Uh-huh.
No, you're dead to me now.
we're not
like
friends anymore.
Coffee. No, you and Clowney can go somewhere else.
Well, welcome to the last show. We made it through 303 episodes,
which is about 289 more than I figured we'd ever make it.
But it came down to me disliking coffee.
Yeah, man.
I have a feeling that in a market as strong as Seattle, that take's probably not going to go over well for me.
No, because it's a terrible.
Well, at least our flockers are making some decent choices. It was very cool to see people using the annual option. And I also just want to say, as we are going into this season, just a big thanks to our members of the flock, because, you and I, Adam, we could have based this show on advertising of some sort. In the past, we've done referral codes to different ticket brokers. And in a season like this, I mean, if we were counting on ticket sales to fund the show, we wouldn't be getting that this year.
Yeah. And, just the idea of doing the advertising and all that, right? Like, it's never really spoken to us. And so for all you little flockers to come through and like help us, keep this thing going, it really does mean a ton. And it really does, make this a lot more enjoyable for us, because I know Brandon doesn't want to read any sportsbook ads,
Uh-huh.
And I can only talk about boner pills for so long. So
I did have somebody reach out to me in just this last week, and they said, so what do you think about this sports gaming app as a potential sponsor for your show? Said, if you only knew how outspoken I was against gambling type things with my sports, then you probably would not ask me that question. It would not be a good fit for us.
No, the only thing that Brandon hates more than the Niners and coffee is sports game.
I'd put it above coffee. Come on now. It's not my thing.
It's not your thing, and it's never going to be your thing. Hey, you know how I knew gambling wasn't my thing? On my 18th birthday, I went to the casino with this girl from high school that I had a huge crush on, and we each put in $10. And I didn't have $10 in about 43 seconds. Like, I was just gone now. And she proceeded to win like $200.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew.
Yeah.
That maybe gambling wasn't for me.
And I guess with sports, I've just never needed it. So I mean, some people need that to enjoy it. And I do like it. Like, I like playing in a fantasy football league with a couple buddies. You throw in some money and the winner gets, the pot. Like, that seems fun. Or if you're just watching an average game and you want to do like numbers at the bar, the squares, where it's just a couple bucks to make it a little more interesting. It's like you said, like you can go through like a lot of money real quick. But I think as we're getting at, big thanks to people supporting the show.
Yeah, man.
We give you the added benefits of the Pick'em League. We have our Facebook Ring of Honor group. We got our live game day chat on Slack that we'll probably pick that back up as we get into this year. So as long as Adam is around, I know he'll be in there. I'll be around for sure. But as long as Adam's not on jobs, it's that's the way we interact on game day.
So this job that I'm doing this weekend on opening weekend, they said that we could come in on Friday, but it's also a really big job and a really hard job and a really job because it's the South and it always is down there.
Yeah.
And so I was on the phone with our good buddy Jared today. And he's like, what time do the Hawks play on Sunday? I was like, they're the early game. And he goes, oh. Yep. So I guess we're getting done on Saturday, huh? So we're going to do everything in our power to get done on Saturday.
Nice. It's a motivational tool for you guys.
Oh, man. It's a huge motivational tool for me.
I'm kind of hopeful that we could do a Pick'em show with you and Jared here before the week kicks off, but we'll see.
I meant to bring it up to him today, but we got interrupted. But I will bring 2 microphones, and we'll see how that goes.
If we can make that work. Okay.
Yeah.
And before we move on to our email and do better and better at life, thanks to our executive producers for the month, Dustin Mock and Brian Shaw.
Dude, what I love the best about those guys is that they work well together and they work well with us. They don't overly executive produce us.
That's the best part about it.
They're amazing to work for is what I'm saying. So if any of you in Hollywood need some executive producers,
Brian and Dustin.
Yeah, Dustin and Brian, like they're the guys that call. Throw millions of dollars at them. They've earned it.
All right. Well, moving on to some email.
All right, man.
Got one here from JC, dubs himself Little Baby Flocker Shilling. Says, I know I am the newest Flocker, and this was after after he came in last week's show.
Yes.
Says, but I am in this for the long haul, so here it goes. You guys are doing a great job calling out the hype that you think is bull catfish. Your critical eye to both our opponents and our own weaknesses have been proven to be on point time and time again, but I feel like there was a pattern to who you were calling out last week, and it hit me right in my hakra. I have to clear the air to get myself ready for the season opener in T-minus 18 days. Gives you an idea when this email sent.
Yep.
Another great episode. My 4-year-old listened for the first time and loved the part about the swamp butt. Really.
Look, there's a part of us that will forever be 4 years old and will always love swamp butt discussion.
Yeah.
We're copacetic. We get it.
But what is the deal with all the criticism on our new Hurricane Seahawks? I've been a diehard Miami Hurricanes fan for the last 20 years. It's a long, strange, sad story, but prepared me well for the cardiac exercises of the 2018 and 2019 Seahawks seasons. And I love when I get to see guys I've been cheering for in Miami make it into the league and my hometown squad. When we got Jimmy Graham, it was the first time in a long time that a game-changing Hurricane came our way. Sadly, the juice maybe wasn't worth the squeeze on that one, but it was great to see somebody from the U up here in the Pacific Northwest. So you can imagine my joy last season with the drafting of Travis Homer and him actually making the 53-man roster and seeing some playing time. So this year I'm ecstatic with all the additions from the Canes, DJ Dallas, Philip Dorsett, and Greg Olson. But to listen to the show, I would think you guys were from Tallahassee or worked for NOAA, the National
Oceanic
Administration, right?
No, it's like it's something to do with the air.
Ocean and Air Administration?
No, whatever, man. I don't know. They're a national organization. They like weather and
catfish. I think that's why JC didn't go with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Atmospheric, there it was.
We all know them as NOAA.
Yeah.
The way you hated on hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. I think the only Kane who escaped your hype corrections was Greg, probably only because you appreciated the length of shorts he wore in the tight ends group picture yesterday. I know you guys were only trying to cut through the obnoxious hype the way Philip Dorsett cuts through time, space, or is it space-time? And I know you guys care as much about Seahawks touchdowns as Travis TD. Really? Homer. But to rain on the parade of Dallas right after, I mean, come on. Have you ever met a DJ that wasn't cool before? You guys
Oh my God. That's a self-answering question.
Whatever. Doc Scott is the coolest DJ we know.
Yeah, I know. Okay. There's an exception to every rule.
So we've already used up our one exception with Doc Scott?
Easily.
JC says, you guys are too good to have not known they were all from the same alma mater, my beloved University of Miami. In closing, I will humbly ask that you treat our Hurricane Seahawks with the token of the love you show for Mr. Montana, a.k.a. Uncle Will. And if you decide not to, well, I will still love this show forever because you guys were kind of right. The hype was hilarious and way over the top. Keep up the awesome work, guys. Can't wait for the season. From JC. He says, go Canes and go Hawks.
Go Hawks, JC. So I would like to think that both of us had consciously made that effort to go after all things, Florida Hurricanes right there.
Yeah.
Right. But see, that's the thing, is that neither of us pay attention to college ball at all. So for us to say that like this was us like intentionally crapping on Miami Hurricanes players,
it was a little bit of that, but only a little.
Yeah, there was an intention there for you.
No, I do like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who is an alumni of Miami.
Look, as far as the guys on the team, right, that are Hurricanes, I'm not a big enough homer to get on the homer hype wagon. I can't do that. Sorry.
We already said DJ Dallas would make the team over Homer if it came down to the two of them. So I feel like we're showing the DJ some love there.
But overall, I could not have more thankfulness and love for anybody on the team, really, more than Greg Olson at this point, for straightening out that disaster of a broship, bromance of a tight end room that was going on. Like having a real live adult in the room. And that was good for our deal.
It makes a difference. It's going to
Uncle
make a
Will
difference.
was going off the rails, man.
He got in with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
We were starting to be concerned
Forgot
about
the
him.
strength of a grizzly bear, what that was. Forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a problem there. And Greg Olson's there to straighten it all out. And I appreciate the former Miami Hurricane, Greg Olson. Happy he's on the team. TE number 1.
The best tight end we've had since the other TE1 from Miami.
Sense or best?
Just best ever.
Maybe. Yeah, like if you're looking at those two careers, who goes to, like if they retired the same exact year, who goes into the Hall of Fame first?
I don't think either of them are gonna be in the Hall of Fame. But
Olson will.
No, he won't.
Oh yeah.
No.
I think you'll definitely be able to do your little weird trick where they played for the team for like a year, maybe 2, and you'll be like, Seahawk Hall of Famer Greg Olson. You'll be able to say that one of these days.
How many All-Pros does Greg Olson have?
Probably 2.
He has 0.
He's always been in my top 3 almost every year of tight ends.
Yeah, I don't think it's Hall of Fame though.
Well, then Frank Gore's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
But everybody agrees Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer.
Well, Frank Gore was a member of the All-Decade team though.
Which nobody gives a shit about.
That's a big deal.
Some random. No, it is not. That is some random offseason exercise that NFL.com does. And
the All-Decade team?
Nobody ever talks about a dude being on the All-Decade team.
Wow.
It's either All-Pro or Hall of Fame or Pro Bowler. Nobody ever says he was on the All-Decade.
Okay, just go back and look at some of the past All-Decade teams. It's all Hall of Famers for the most part.
Right. And do they ever mention they were on the All-Decade team?
Sean Alexander, member of the All-Decade team. Walter Jones, member of the All-Decade team.
Yeah, that is not how you talk about them. The All-Decade team does not matter.
Okay. Well, Greg Olson's still not getting in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry to JC. I'm sorry to you.
Just wait till he, adds a ring to his resume this year. Then try to keep him off the
there you go.
The Hall of Fame stage. Yeah.
He gets a ring this year, goes All-Pro. he's in for me. He'll be Hall of Fame lock.
There you go.
All right. Well, for JC, I think we came to a solid conclusion then on this one, that we just need one good year from Greg Olson, and he's a Hall of Famer, and that's where this agreement comes to a close.
Okay, well, there you go. See, I think what we really learned from that is I actually like Greg Olson, and you could give catfish.
I need something to be in it for me. And once you said Super Bowl ring, I was bought in fully on the Greg Olson hype train.
I exposed your selfishness.
On to do better and better at life.
All right, man.
My do better this week. I want to recognize some of our listeners living down in Southern California, because I know we have a few members of the flock down there. And if you're wondering why there's smoke up in the air down there, 1, it's because there's a wildfire. 2, the reason for that fire is because people are stupid.
Yeah, that happens to be the cause of most wildfires, I would imagine, right? Above lightning is people are stupid.
People being stupid. Well, I guess not even checking to see if your fire's out is one of those reasons. But have you ever shot explosive targets?
Yes.
They're fun, right?
Yes.
I wonder, for people who haven't shot explosive targets, like, what would be a good way to describe why they're fun?
Why they're fun? Because you get double bangs.
It's like lighting fireworks off, but with a gun, right?
Yeah, but like you get to aim the firework at something, and then it goes bang like another firework.
Yeah,
it's like colliding fireworks.
Well, we know, so that's fun. And the other thing I know that you love is grass when it goes gold, right? You love that look of gold grass.
Yeah, because that's what it's supposed to be.
I also know that you're into chemistry.
A little bit, yeah.
So mixing explosive targets and mixing gold grass, are these two things that go together?
Not really. This is kind of the odd couple of outdoor activities right now, I'd say.
Yeah. So there's another element to this story, not just these two things that go together, but a gender reveal party happens to be involved in this. I think it's the El Dorado fire down there, and I don't really need to go against gender reveal parties. I think parties are cool. Any excuse to have a party's fun.
Okay.
But someone decided to shoot an explosive target to help with their gender reveal. You can get them, I guess, with blue or pink smoke. And so combining the explosive targets with the gold grass, that's how you get the El Dorado fire that's in Southern California right now. This is not smart. If it sounds familiar, it's because this has happened before. And back in 2018 in Arizona, somebody doing a gender reveal party with an explosive target, fired it off, the grass caught on fire. And so now, for twice in about a 2-3 year span, we're having, I think the El Dorado's upwards of 7,000 acres. The one in Arizona, the Sawmill fire, was 47,000 acres. The guy who shot off the target, he was ordered to pay $8 million in restitution.
That's an expensive hit
for starting the fire.
Yeah.
And he was a federal government employee. I know that dude's not making $8 million in his career up.
Nope.
So don't be one of these people who ruin your life or the lives and property of others by shooting explosive targets in gold grass areas. Do better.
So this is what I'm going to try to get out of this. So if you shoot the target and it blue smoke, it's a boy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think.
You shoot the target, it's pink smoke, then it would be a girl, I'm guessing.
Right.
What happens if you shoot the target, it immediately lights everything on fire and everything is covered in black smoke? Does that mean you're having Satan's baby? Is it Rosemary's baby in your belly?
That's a good deterrent to just avoid that semario.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like I will come out against gender reveal parties. Actually, this is
I kind of thought you might.
Because they're kind of dumb. Like, this is one of those things where, like, when somebody gets pregnant and they're having a baby and the whole thing, like, everybody oohs and ahs and makes the biggest deal out of it and all of that. And usually what I'm thinking in my head, when I'm like, oh, that's so great for you, and like, congratulations and all that. Usually what's going through my head is, congratulations, you've done the most basic human function on the planet. You managed to procreate. You don't even have to be good at it to get it done. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. Hooray. You're so special. You and your, whatever, demon child baby. Yeah.
I had a feeling you would have a take on gender reveal parties.
Your children are special to you, and that's awesome. Hey, you know what I mean? Like, my daughter's special to me, and that's awesome. But nobody else gives a catfish, people. Like, they really understand that.
I will say that for each of our kids, when we revealed the gender, we just talked to people and said, hey, we're having a girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when it was born, the kid, you just picked them up and it was like, look, it's a girl. And then you're done.
Yeah. I like to know before then.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Because we can.
Snuck a peek. Yeah. Why not? Then you can prep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who you got for Do Better?
All right, Brandon. My Do Better this week is for a behavior, not necessarily a person, but you'll know who you are shortly after me talking about this. So for those of you who don't know, this year in Montana, there's been far too many of all y'all who aren't from here. Like, it's been packed full of people. I went down the interstate the other day. There were 10 out-of-state plates for every one Montana plate, right? Like, I find myself being like the guy who had made the homemade sign on his driveway on the east shore of Flathead Lake. Just took a big 4x8 sheet of plywood and spray painted "Go Home" on the board. Like, literally, go home. You don't need to be here.
Yeah.
All right. So the big problem with this is that when I go to the gas station and want to use a gas pump, there are suddenly catfish lines to get gas. All right. It takes long enough to get gas with all the 14,000 codes you got to put in. Your loyalty club. Do you want a car wash? Do would you want to give to charity? What grade of fuel do you want? Are you ready now? Would you like a receipt? Like, good God. It takes 20 minutes to pump gas as it is. But now there's a freaking line to pump gas because all y'all are here. And the worst part is most of you do this. You pull up to the pump, you fill up your car, and then you walk into the store and you don't come back out for 20 freaking minutes.
Yeah.
If there's a line of cars at the pump, when you are done pumping, you get your ass into the car, you move the car, and you go and park so somebody else can pump gas. Like a considerate person. So to every person that doesn't move their car after pumping gas when it's freaking busy, do better.
There you go.
In a town of Phillipsburg where there's 1,500 people, there's no point in my day ever where I should have to wait in line for gas.
That's a really good point.
Go home.
There are times where I have left the car and gone inside for 10, 15 minutes, but usually
Yes.
If there's a line, I'll move the car.
If you're there, and
in fact, I'll even go beyond usually. I will say 100% if there's someone behind me, I will move the car.
Every single time for life. It's just rude.
All right. On to Better at Life.
Okay. Well, so my Better at Life and Skip Bayless this week is for Dan at Blackfoot. Blackfoot is a telecommunications company here in Montana. And Dan's the man. I'm just going to say it. I love Dan. He's my new internet boyfriend. He's trumped Elon now because he actually came to the cabin. Like, he drove up there.
Wow.
And said hi. That was cool. And the biggest problem is that all of us neighbors up there, we want to get internet. And everybody else wants to go through Blackfoot and not Elon and wait for the Starlink. Okay, fine. So we can get a phone line and internet brought up. If we all sign up, they'll pull it up there for free.
Nice.
That's cool. But what makes Dan the man so damn cool is...
Okay, before you go on...
Yeah.
Are you about to drop a dime on Dan that was going to get him in trouble in the future by putting this down onto a recording?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just want to make sure.
Because Dan doesn't give a
catfish. Well, I was getting that impression, and so
yeah,
and so that's why I'm wondering if it's a DGAF to the point to where we maybe don't want to mention this on the show.
I'm just saying we're getting internet.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just say that he's gone back and forth with this particular person before, and Dan's always gotten his way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for Dan.
Yeah, for that and rolling up right as I'm trying to install the French door in the new addition at the cabin.
Yeah.
He helped me pick it up and actually put it in there because the girlfriend doesn't have the guns for it. So, Dan the man, Better at Life, and Skip Bayless.
All right.
Get her a catfish done.
My Better at Life this week is for our Seattle Seahawks. We are going into week 1, Adam, and we made it through a COVID-free preseason. I don't want to jinx anything, but the fact that we had 0 positive tests, 1 false positive, is a testament to just the work that I think our Seahawks players put in, taking things seriously. Hopefully, maybe there was a little luck involved there too. But the point is that we made it through the preseason healthy, no big problems, and we're going to be watching football come Sunday, Adam. And really, that is what makes our team better at life than Skip Bayless.
Oh, without question. I'm so stoked for this and Jack. I was going to say jacked and then stoked, and so I said stacked.
Hey, I'm stacked too.
Okay, cool. And I can't wait for this season. So stacked. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.